The 2015 Mad Max video game that was released for Xbox, PlayStation, and PC is not typically the kind of game I talk about on this channel. But the more I played it, the more I realized that this kinda fits the bill. If you were to replace the car for a mech, this pretty much scratches that itch. The story is mainly focused around Max needing a replacement car for his black-on-black Interceptor that was taken from him. His first initial reaction was to get his car back, but after some convincing from a character known as Chum Bucket, Max comes to the conclusion that his old car is gone, and now he'll need to find a replacement, or build a new one from scratch. That's where Chum Bucket comes in. He's what's known as a black thumb, essentially the wasteland word for a mechanic, and it's with his help that you're able to build a new car that he calls the magnum opus. A lot of the tasks you need to do in the game largely focus on getting parts and upgrades for your car. This has always been an interesting idea or concept when it comes to mech games, which is the concept of building something that is a little more unique to you. Although the vehicle customization may not be all that deep in this game, it's enough to allow you to build a car that fits your playstyle, even a little bit of your personality. You can go with the light armored magnum opus to focus on speed and be the fastest in the wasteland, or be a jack of all trades, or a heavily armored bruiser that may not be fast, but is able to smash enemies off the road. As you progress through the game, you begin to feel a bond grow between you and your personalized magnum opus. The combat is nothing all that complex. It's fairly simple, yet extremely satisfying, especially if you've seen Mad Max Fury Road and Furiosa. Most of the areas of the map have at least one convoy route for you to attack. These convoys consist of one main target vehicle that you need to take out, and several of its escorts who will try to defend against you. While at first glance, it looks like the open world map has a bunch of fetch quests, similar to a Ubisoft open world game, none really feel all that tedious. Well, except for one where you have to drive a specific vehicle in order to find some landmines. Aside from that one, however, I mostly found it satisfying for my OCD brain. The combat on foot is also just as good, and very similar to the Batman Arkham style combat. And in addition to finding upgrades to your magnum opus, you'll also be upgrading Max with gear, new ammo, and new fighting moves. Now, as far as scratching the itch for mech fans, well, let's look at the checklist. Many mech worlds and stories are post-apocalyptic, where it seems that the sky has seemingly fallen, or the world is on the brink of falling apart with a bunch of greedy corporations ruining everything for everyone else. In this world, it's like the planet has seemingly turned against us. Many have died out from starvation and disease, and those who remain are left to wander not just a wasteland, but a world where the oceans have gone away. Something that I really like were the sandstorms that would occasionally appear on the map as you're driving around or trying to complete objectives. These storms can really damage your car and even destroy it, and you if you're lacking the proper amount of armor or fail to get to shelter in time. There are rewards if you stay in the storms, but getting those rewards will depend if you can survive. This is a bleak world where there is very little hope left. There's some false hope given to some in order to give them some purpose, like believing that the oceans will return one day. But there's very little evidence to suggest that that'll happen one day. There's this one specific encounter with an NPC that stuck out to me. There was a mission prior to this encounter where a group of wastelanders built a land sailboat to travel over the land and venture further out into the part of the waste no one knows about. It was a one-way trip. This NPC had his son on that sail. He was supposed to go with him, but he didn't make it in time. Now he has no one left. No more family, no more purpose. And so he asks Max to end it.
My son made it in time, but I got attacked. Came here too late. They left. The land ship has sailed. There's no point to go on. Murder me. Please. Take my stuff and just murder the shit out of me.
Going back to the combat. Look, say what you will of Gundam Wing's writing, but one cool thing about it was how the Gundam pilots could sometimes decide if they wanted to attack a military base head-on with their Gundams, or sneak in and destroy it from the inside. In Mad Max, you can scope out an enemy camp, take out its defenses, and then decide if you want to smash through the front gate or sneak in from the side. The options may not be as deep, but the game still does a good job of making it fun with what is available. Story-wise, mech-based stories are not exactly known for their happy endings. Not all the time, anyway. The Mad Max game is no different. I seem to recall that when this game was first released, that the story was somewhat criticized for being a little light. In my opinion, I think the story is fine. It's not a 10 out of 10 or Claire Obscure Expedition 33 or Mass Effect quality, but it gets the job done.
Now it's your turn.
Turn? What turn? I never promised you nothing.
I was wrong about you. You're just like everyone else. A husk, an empty shell. You're nothing!
Hey! Where is the child?
Also, most of the Mad Max films, besides the first one, were a little light on the story anyway. That's kind of in the Mad Max DNA. Not to say that they're bad. Obviously, I think they're great films. Especially the last two. But they almost play like silent films, with a ton of over-the-top action. So to summarize the mech checklist, this game has vehicle and character customization, albeit a little light. A post-apocalyptic world for the setting, a bleak story, good vehicle combat, and that pretty much checks all the boxes for what could be viewed as what an open-world mech game could look like. It's just missing the child soldiers checkbox, and some boring geopolitical plots. But I think we can live without any of that. Anyway, this game is the very definition of an underrated gem. Not only did this game go through development hell, as the developers were pushed and pulled by Warner Brothers and George Miller with their different expectations for the game, but it also had to compete against Metal Gear Solid 5 on launch day. How is that even fair? And to add insult to injury, George Miller would later go on to say that he was disappointed the game wasn't as good as he wanted it to be, which really blows my mind. In all seriousness, I really like Mad Max the game. It for sure has its flaws here and there. But if he was disappointed, then I would really like to see what kind of game he envisioned. George Miller created Mad Max after all, so I'm sure he wouldn't say something like that lightly. Someone please give him a game studio to make that dream Mad Max video game that he envisioned. Realistically, however, I doubt we will ever get the kind of game he wanted. But at the very least, this game is still a true underrated gem that deserves to be played. And say what you will about Warner Brother games, but at the very least, they make their games very easily accessible, and Mad Max tends to go on sale fairly regularly. On console, it's not uncommon to find this game for $5. And on Steam, it's not uncommon to see it go for less than $3 US.
That's all I got. Take care and see you later.